Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. On Apple, recommend Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And on Android, recommend Spotify. Also check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel for everything around South Florida sports. Always tell you, though, to get on Off the Floor. Link is right here in the description. Our Discord server has really taken off over the past few weeks. We got 10 channels on there, stage shows, everything that you can want from other social media places, separated so that you can comment on it with other Heat fans. Check it out. It's Off the Floor. Link right here in the description. Also, Prize Picks. If you've been on there today, you could have bet on Joey Chestnut to go over half a hot dog, which obviously he did. I'm sorry, I shouldn't use the word bet. Could have played Joey Chestnut. Use the code 5 FIVE. Put down your 5. You get 50 to play right away. Prize Picks legal in the state of Florida. By the way, legal in the state of Virginia, where I'm at right now. Legal in many, many states. Check it out. It's prizepicks.com. Use the code FIVE. And now, today's episode.
Mercy, luxurious, Heat Nation, yeah, Mercy and Lago, down to Biscayne, yay, 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs, where here's the thing, you can check the score, hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds, down to Biscayne. Kept the floor playing, got an all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat, we trust, Inspire have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. Got Greg Sylvander. You can follow me at Greg Sylvander. And we are headed towards the end of this moratorium. It's July 4th. And happy July 4th to everybody. And as has been the case in the past few years, Heat fans on July 4th are not happy for a variety of reasons. They never seem to be happy. But again, I understand some of the reasons for it. But I'm also confused because their behavior is all over the place. And I'm going to start here because there's been some stuff out there, some reporting about the Heat, and I've reported that they're trying to move Rozier. That's not really a surprise that they're trying to move Rozier, and that Wiggins' name has come up in conversations with various teams. But there's also the Dame Lillard prospect now, and the Heat right now don't have a roster spot. But there's the Dame Lillard prospect right now, and I did that episode with Alex, and now there's Bradley Beal again. I feel like we're just playing. These aren't even the hits anymore. These are like the B-sides where we're playing.
Audible sigh.
Bradley Beal, right? And so Bradley Beal, like, this is a player who the Heat had interest in for a long time. They didn't have interest in trading for his bloated contract. Phoenix traded for him. Heat fans, the majority of them, and I polled this at the time, a lot of you forgot this, wanted the Heat to trade for that ridiculous bloated contract. Were angry at the Heat for not acquiring him. Then he essentially became the albatross, that forced the Suns to give up on Kevin Durant, even though Durant and Booker played well together. Their numbers were good, but throw Beal in the mix and it was a mess. And he had a no-trade clause, which made it impossible to trade him at the deadline. Again, this is all something that about 70% of Heat fans wanted the Heat to do. Now, though, there's conversations about them buying out Bradley Beal because they can't think of another option. They don't really want him there anymore, even though he still can be a productive player, but not the direction that they're going right now. And so it's come up again on whether or not the Heat could take a stab at Bradley Beal. And I've said over and over that the Heat didn't want Bradley Beal, but if you're going to give him Bradley Beal at the minimum, then could they reconsider? I think it's possible. But I'm doing this in the context of something else, though, okay? Which is that I poll this, and it's unbelievable. It's not 50-50 right now, Greg, but it was 50-50 for a while. It's sort of pushed to 53-47 now. But it was 50-50 for a while. And this just tells you, like, we're dealing, I think, with a fan base right now that doesn't know what it wants. Mm-hmm. And it's completely split down the middle, but even split within the same personality, right? What do you want the Heat to do next season? Win more games for a while was 50%. Lose more games was 50%. Right now it's 53-47, win more games after about 1,500 votes. I just put it up a couple hours ago. What do you make of that? What do Heat fans want? Because I want them to go young, and that means they may lose more games, but I don't want them to lose more games just for the sake of losing more games. I know people want them to get a higher lottery pick, but I'm okay with them losing more games if it's in the context of them going young. But then if they don't get Bradley Beal, who no longer is young, he's been in the league a long time, Heat fans going to have a conniption, a lot of them, because the Heat missed out on Bradley Beal again. I don't. The same people who want the Heat to play the young players. I don't understand.
Yeah, so there's a couple things to unpack here. I'll get to Bradley Beal in a second, but your first point about the fan base and the state of the fact that that poll is so close in terms of fans that want to win versus lose, I think that it's an interesting scenario because to me, I'd be the fan who would vote that they would try to win. I ultimately believe that with the right moves, Bam Adebayo in particular in his prime is a player that can be part of a team that can make a finals run. I know that there's a lot more that needs to be built around that, but I am one that ultimately does want to win more than they lose. But I also recognize playing the young players is a priority that is welcomed, and that may be inherently that you lose more games. And I'm okay with that. And so there's like kind of, I'm straddling both sides there because I do want them to win. I don't want them to quote unquote tank. Like that's not where I'm going with this. I want them to give the young players the burn so that we know what we have in some of these guys ultimately. And then also so that there's just not progress stopping. Do you want me to get to my Bradley Beal thoughts here, or do you
Let's
have?
Let's do it on the other side of the break because
okay.
I want to follow on that because I think you and I in this case are aligned. Play the young players. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose.
Exactly.
Don't intentionally lose just to get higher up in the draft because we've seen that the Heat have the ability. First thing, there's going to be changes to the lottery. I've heard that repeatedly over the past month. So we don't even know what the lottery is going to look like, even though the Heat potentially, I guess, could have a lottery pick, even in this, decrepit Eastern Conference that they're in. But with that said, I don't want them losing for the sake of losing to get up higher in the draft because the one thing that they have seemed to do well lately, or at least they've gotten some luck, we'll see what happened this year, but a top 10 potential pick dropped to them at 20. We'll find out why, or maybe we won't find out why. Maybe a lot of other teams made mistakes, like they did with Tyrese Maxey, who went 21st a few years ago, which, of course, we've never heard the end of. But the thing is, I don't think they need to get up as high in the lottery as possible. Look at the year they took Bam. That was the whole thing. Well, they went 30-11 in the second half of the season. They blew it. They blew their chance to get a good player, and they ended up getting a player who, if you redrafted, would be top 3 at the very worst, top 4.
Hey,
draft,
even Dwayne at 5. 5 is not 1. You didn't win the lottery, and you got Dwayne.
Right. And on the last day of the season, they won instead of losing when I actually wrote a column saying they should lose. And if they'd lost, they would have taken Bosh, which wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. But also, I don't think he would have transformed the franchise the way that Dwayne did. So as I look at it, I'm like, okay, play the young players. And then we'll get to the Beal take on the other side. Play the young players. If they make mistakes and you lose more games, at least you're interested in doing it. And like you said, it's also an educational thing. It's not educational to play more Kyle Anderson. It wouldn't have been more educational to play more Alec Burks, even though I said they needed shooting. The Duncan thing I understood, but now don't bring in Fontecchio and play him a ton. I don't see the point of that, even though they are seriously lacking in shooting. Brady and I just did an episode on that. Right. It's really bad. I mean, this might be one of the worst shooting teams they've had in the Eric Spoelstra era.
Which may mean they're going to try really, really hard, Ethan, to win games, and they're going to lose anyway. And I think that's where we are aligned, is that we probably see them as a try-hard team that just ultimately comes up short, and that's going to be the kind of season that they go through. And so to that point, I want them to try to win as much as possible, but I have doubts whether that's going to be able to come to fruition with the roster as it stands right now.
Right, but there's a majority of, not a majority, there's a percentage of the fans that's significant that wants them to intentionally lose.
And sell off Bam and Tyler for as many picks as possible. And I also am not willing to go that far. And I'll be the dinosaur who sticks in that place. But I don't think selling off everything is I think you can build it back if you're smart about it. You can build it back up with Bam and maybe even Tyler still here.
But not at 50 million.
But not at 50 million. I think Bam can, and I'm not going to veer too far off. I think Bam can be paid what he's paid now, and you can still win with what he brings defensively. I think he still warrants what he's paid. But again, I may be looked at as biased. The Tyler thing is a different conversation. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program.
I mean, I think the course of action at this point that makes sense. You try to move Rozier, but you don't give away too many assets to do it since you gave away a first-round pick to get him. You don't want to repeat the mistake of the Lowry situation, which was a mistake that I endorsed, you endorsed, but whatever it is, they made it, okay? Mm-hmm. You don't repeat it, but you try to move Rozier in a way that, he's not on the roster at the start of the season, and it doesn't hurt you further, okay? That's really where I'm at with it, okay? As far as Wiggins goes, I think if you can get a young player – and expirings there, I'm with it. Okay. I don't believe they're going to get a quality young player and a first round pick. I think they may be able to get one or the other. If you can get one or the other, like say it's Connect or who would add shooting, and Brady and I talked about that's a shooter who's in there, the age space of the other players, and they don't have a shooter in that age space. So they have guys who can shoot, but they don't have a shooter. So my thing is, if you added him to that mix, then that he makes sense to grow with this core, or you move him for something else eventually, or you get the first round pick, which allows you to use that to try to get in the picture for a star should one become available. I'm okay with either of those things. Okay, so moving Wiggins, because I don't really see the point of Wiggins on this roster. And the quote that got me was the same one that got you, and Brady and I talked about it, was, and I again, it's Barry taking what he's given on background and putting it out there. Okay. And I'm not questioning the skillfulness which Barry did that, but I knew exactly what was going to happen, particularly from the messenger, because he's kind of put that message out there before, which was, well, we need to see our team healthy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that Heat fans just don't want to hear. Because look, that team healthy last year wasn't very good anyway. So
we're hip to that game now. Like that's the thing now. That soundbite no longer resonates in a way where anybody takes that seriously because it's been used so many times. I was actually pretty damn surprised that they had the kind of the gall to do it.
Well, I don't. It's hard to know how the background was given there, but
that's true.
It was so simple.
To be fair,
it was so similar to what someone on Twitter, a Heat fan I follow, posted 3 months earlier was going to be said afterwards, and I think we actually said it during the Cleveland series. That don't come back and say, well, if this team was healthy or if Wiggins was healthy, because you don't lose by 92 points in the last 2 games and need to see it again. Okay. Exactly. You don't. Like I again, and Andrew Wiggins is not that guy that it's different than Jimmy Butler, at the level he was playing at, and Josh Hart, steps on his ankle. And that seriously damaged the Heat going forward, because Jimmy was never the same guy. I would argue not just through that playoff run, which gave them no chance to beat Denver. Well, I don't think they would have anyway, but it gave them no chance. But also, I don't think he was the same guy after that. The best he ever was right up into that injury, and then you can see it happening from there. So, yes, that one I got, okay? But the Wiggins thing, no, okay? And so, to me, if you can move Wiggins, who I don't think is going to be a long-term part of your future anyway, and you can move him in a neutral kind of way or a slightly above neutral kind of way where you get a pick expirings or got a young player like Connect expirings, etc. I'm for that. And then the next thing you do is you hold the line on Tyler and you don't extend him this offseason, because I just don't. You cannot double down on this right now. Right. And he has said it. He said that there'll be more next year. All right. Well, he's a prove it type guy. We've seen that. If he proves it, then there's a conversation to be had. But I just don't know that you can win with 2 guys making $100 million at the top of your roster. Plus, there's also, I saw some reports today, and I have to get into it, that the percentages going up are not going to be as great as they thought. I saw Keith Smith, who does a lot of cap work, had posted that. So, right? You saw that as well?
Yeah, because it's in line with the fact that we were projecting increases based off of a 10% lift, and now it's only a 7% lift.
7% lift. Right. So we are talking about 100 million, whatever Tyler and Bam are going to get, being a higher percentage ultimately of their total. Mm-hmm. And it's just very hard for me to make the case that you have one guy who's so limited defensively and one guy who's so inconsistent offensively, and you can pay those 2 players that kind of money at the
Agree.
top. So, and Bam got the money first. So that's kind of where you're at. So to me, that's what we're looking at right now. And on the other side is I'll let you talk about Beal, because I don't understand the Heat fan logic. Even if it's like, if the price is low enough, then bring in guys who are going to progress stop. No, you either want them to go young or you don't. Okay, that's where I'm at with it. Anyway, I want to talk about a great sponsor, the 5 Reasons Sports Network, our friends over at Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's realestateshopfl.com. 2 P's and an E. These are the folks that you go to if you're looking to buy or sell a house in Broward County, all over South Florida as well, but they are always doing the open houses in Broward County, East, West, Pines, all the way to Fort Lauderdale. Realestateshopfl.com. Follow them at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on IG. And again, you can see all the great work that they do. Great family people. They know what your family needs, and they'll help you navigate this complicated real estate market. So check them out. It's realestateshopfl.com. All right. Tell me what you think of the Bradley Beal thing.
Oh, gosh. So there's a couple things that come to mind with Bradley Beal that we need to acknowledge. And it also has to do with the Miami Heat. So here's the first thing we need to all acknowledge. The Heat are not in position to necessarily say no to talented players that want to come play if it's for the right price. And this is the thing I saw floated around on social media. I think it may have been Bobby Marks, who shout out to him. He always is very responsive to like basically the entire Twitter community, responding to cap questions and stuff like that. I've just seen a lot of people reach out to him and he always responds back. So that's cool. But I think he said something to the degree of, what if Miami were to offer a 1-year, $10 million deal to Bradley Beal? When I hear that, it makes me want to throw up. Like, there is no way that I am offering him that. One, because I want the young players to play. It's not that I want to reemphasize, I acknowledge that the team needs more talent. But this is the one specific talent. I guess you could say if he's willing to come as a 6-man energy, spark, off the bench, shooter, scorer, if he's willing to accept that role, Ethan, then I'm in. But I have a feeling he would think I should start next to Tyler. And to me, I want to see more of Davion. He's a younger player. And I want to see Yakachonis. Like, I just do. And so I would fear that there'd be a lot of Beal Hero together in that backcourt. Yeah. And what that defensively just makes my spine cringe. And so I don't know. I'm not into it. I understand the team needs offense, they need scoring, and they need talent. And so some people will probably be angry by the fact that I'm kind of rejecting someone who still has a degree of talent, scoring effectiveness, and if he wants to come, that's great. At the veterans minimum, I'll figure it out. If he's willing to if he's willing to basically buy into a role, I'm in. But if he's coming here to be Bradley Beal for $10 million, I rather them save that money and just let the guards that are here play.
I'm with you. And it's not because I'm pushing for them to quote unquote tank. But look, let's acknowledge Bradley Beal's stats still look fine. Okay. Even in Phoenix, where they couldn't wait to get rid of him, played 53 games each of the past 2 years. He doesn't play a lot of games. Let's start there. He's not been a player who's been consistently healthy in recent years. You look at his last 5 seasons, 53, 50, 53, 53, 50, 40, and 60. I mean, that makes Jimmy look like he plays every day. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, that's the first thing. You're talking about availability, reliability. That's not who he is at this point. Remember, he came in really young. He's got a lot, even though he hasn't had deep playoff runs, there's a lot of miles there. So just to consider that. But beyond that, okay, he did. Yes, he shot 50% from the floor, 39% from 3. The year before, 51% from the floor, 43% from 3. Again, if you're just talking about those numbers in a vacuum, you take it. But it is what you're saying. I don't want Tyler Hero continuing to, if you're keeping him to continue to develop as essentially a pseudo point guard. And that's what you would have if you playing Hero and Beal together. Yeah. And defensively, also, like you said, that backcourt would really struggle. And then you're asking Ware and Bam to clean up everything else. And then you're probably having to play a player at the 3. Let's say Haywood is still here, that you don't necessarily want to lean into his minutes, but you have to just to clean things up for the 2 of them. when again, I would rather see Jovic on the court more often. So it's like Spoelstra's talked about, there's layers to this. And it would feel to me, okay, if the Dame thing feels to me like this somewhat as well, okay? Although I get the Dame part only for this, and I'm not on the pod, I made it clear I'm not really for it, okay? I don't really see the point. But the point that can be made is he's not going to play this year, most likely, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially you're just holding a place for him until you maybe are able to get a star, or young players are more developed, you kind of know what you have with them. And then the next year after that, oh, you're adding Dame Lillard to the mix, and whatever he can give you, he gives you, because you're not signing him for a whole lot. I can kind of understand that because there's the red shirt sort of year to it. I know this sounds counter to what most people would think, but this is kind of how I'm viewing it. But with Beal, there's no red shirt year. He's trying to prove himself this year, right? He's probably trying to earn himself one more contract.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be out there with him taking a lion's share of the shots. He may be more efficient at them than Hakachone is going to be, or Jovic is going to be, or Jaquez is going to be, or Ware is going to be, or Larson's going to be. He may be more efficient. I'm not going to argue that any of them are ever going to be a better basketball player than Bradley Beal has been at the peak of his career. But is that really what you want with where they're going? And that gets back to, and so it just feels like an olive branch that you're throwing out to the fans. Okay, well, we got Bradley Beal finally, and we're not paying him anything. I don't know. It just doesn't do a lot for me. And it feels a little bit kind of like directionless, which is, I feel like they've chosen a direction now, finally. And I want to see them lean into that.
Well, here's one scenario, Ethan. Let me ask you how you would respond to this. Tyler Hero's up for extension. And let's just say that Tyler Hero is going to be commanding and asking for money that Miami maybe doesn't want to pay on an annual basis to him, and they make that decision. Would you be open-minded to, if you did sign Bradley Beal for 1 year, $10 million, like Bobby Marks speculated? Let's just use that because it was a speculated number. But you did it because you identified you weren't going to extend Tyler, and you traded Tyler now, and then Beal slides into the Tyler role offensively, and you do have a completely different team because who knows what you get back for Tyler. Now, that, I think, to the fan base who's out there listening, that's the kind of forward thinking type of move that I think fans would, although they'd be maybe upset to see Tyler go, they would understand kind of the machinations of how that's coming together and what your intent is long-term. So I don't want to completely say that Bradley Beal couldn't help in a lot of ways, but it's not a means to an end. And I just think that it does raise an interesting question if you're not going to pay Tyler long-term, if you can get Beal at a much lower number, if you're going to flip Tyler. But again, these are a lot of moves, a lot of moving parts. And I think it's sometimes a little unrealistic, and fans get a little ambitious thinking how many deals you can actually get done. Although, to the fans' credit, the Heat really have not made a lot of trades. So you have to acknowledge
that's the other point. It's like, well, you got to do this and this and this and this. Where literally, like, almost nothing has happened lately in a long time. I mean, other than the Duncan trade. Here's the thing about that. Beal's 32. He just turned 32 last week. Is the idea now that you're not extending Tyler and you're going to extend Beal at age? They've already shown they don't want to pay aging players. This is a guy who's had injury history of late, has not been a good defender in a very long time. Durant, to me, was the one exception. He was the one exception. He's KD. But Beal, like, I don't know. I mean, and then here's the other part. So you're bringing Beal in to play with Tyler, and you're having Tyler adjust his game again to play with him, while knowing that they might have brought Beal in to replace him because they're not going to give Tyler an extension. This is all hypothetical. I'm just thinking, how does that go over? Like, Tyler hasn't been jerked around enough by the whole Jimmy thing over the past couple of years. Not intentionally by the Heat, but I'm saying by changes in role, he comes into camp. He thinks he's going to play more off the ball. Then Jimmy, goes haywire, and the ball's in Tyler's hands all the time. He's being blamed for things he can't do down the stretch. And I don't know. Like, none of this strikes me as making anybody on the team better. it just strikes me as Bradley Beal playing for a new contract with somebody, whether it's the Heat or somebody else. Just go with it. You like your young players, right? You like your young players. They tell everybody they like your young players. We like our core. We like our group. We want to see what they have. Well, let's just see it. Okay. So if they go 31-51, like it can't be worse than last year.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe it goes from 0-7 to 42-40 like it did in 2003, 2004.
Hey.
And all of a sudden you're in the second round of the playoffs and they're building back hope again. Like I'd rather see that.
is in the Remy runs in Miami looking quite nice out there. If I saw,
we didn't complain about the draft pick. We didn't complain about the draft pick. A lot of Heat fans wanted them to trade that pick, right? And that we'll see what it looks like when the season starts. But there's promise there. There's promise with Ware. I've seen promise with Jovic. They got to find a role. Hawkins, there was promise the first year. Davion's 26. He may not be done growing. He was a first round pick. They are missing some things. They're missing a shooter. They're missing a dynamic athlete on the perimeter. Okay. They're missing some things. Guy who can get his whenever he wants to get it. Okay. But they also have a guy who was just an all-star, Tyler. They've got a core defender who's 28. All these guys are 28 and younger. And so we're bringing in Bradley Beal to take 17 shots. I don't know. For $10 million, guys, give it to me. Greg, appreciate it. Sponsors, realestateshopfl.com. We also appreciate Lynette, who's going to be coming back in with us, the sponsor this week. If you want to sponsor Five on the Floor to continue to contribute to what we do here as we continue to grow, we are planning on growth, believe it or not. I don't know. Should I lean into the young guys? Is there anybody younger than Brady? Austin Dobbins is younger than Brady. We'll start giving him some reps. Greg, appreciate it. Happy 4th, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Five on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.